Now, one of them befriended a guy named Aaron Russo. He's a filmmaker and a very good patriot. He made a movie called American Freedom to Fascism. You might want to check that out. Now, he sat down with a radio personality, syndicated radio host, Alex Jones, and talked about his encounter with Rockefeller. Check this out.
Eric, can you be specific about when you met Rockefeller, how it happened in these discussions?
I met Rockefeller through a female attorney I knew who called me up one day and said, one of the Rockefellers would like to meet you. I had made a video called Mad as Hell, and he'd seen the video and wanted to meet me and knew I was running for governor of Nevada. So sure, I'd love to meet him. And I met him, and I liked him, and he was a very, very smart man. And we used to talk and share ideas and thoughts. And he's the one who told me 11 months before 9/11 ever happened that there was going to be an event. Never told me what the event was going to be. But there was going to be an event. And out of that event, we were going to invade Afghanistan to run pipelines from the Caspian Sea. We were going to invade Iraq, to take over the oil fields, establish a base in the Middle East, and make it all part of the New World Order. And we'd go after Chavez in Venezuela. And sure enough, later, 9/11 happened. And I remember he was telling me how you're going to see soldiers looking in caves for people in Afghanistan and Pakistan and all these places. And there's going to be this war on terror, which is no real enemy. And the whole thing is a giant hoax, but it's a way for the government to take over the American people.
He told you it was going to be a hoax.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no question. He says, there's going to be war on terror. And he's laughing. There's no... Who are we fighting? I mean, why do you think 9/11 happened and then nothing's happened since then? Do you think that our security is so great here that these people who pulled off 9/11, who were able to, can't knock down another plane? Come on, it's ridiculous. 9/11 was done by people in our own government and our own banking system to perpetuate the fear of the American people into subordinating themselves to anything the government wants them to do. That's what it's about, and to create this war, this endless war on terror. And that's why and that was the first lie. And the next lie was going into Iraq, to get Saddam Hussein out with his weapons of mass destruction. That was the next lie.
Now, specifically, this was a little over 6 years ago?
This was...
11 months before 9/11.
Yeah.
And Nick Rockefeller, who's a lawyer, he's become your friend over the previous years, and he's saying to you that there's going to be this big event, and then out of that we're going to have a war on terror, and it's just going to go on and on.
Right. An endless war on terror without any real enemy. That you can never define a winner.
And did he say that it's going to be perfect because you can't define an enemy? It just goes on?
Yeah, because you can't define a winner. There's no one to beat, so it goes on and on forever. And they can do whatever they want. They scare the hell out of the American public. Look, this whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. It's very difficult to say it out loud because people are intimidated against saying it. Because if you say it, they want to make you into a nutcase. But the truth has to come out. That's why I'm doing this interview. The fact of the matter happens to be that the whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. There's a war going on in Iraq because we invaded Iraq. And people over there fighting, But the war on terror, that's a joke, And until we discover what really happened on 9/11 and who was responsible for 9/11, because that's where the war on terror emanates from. That's where it comes from. It was 9/11 that allowed this war on terror to begin. And until we get to the bottom root of 9/11, the truth of 9/11, we'll never know about the war on terror.
He's absolutely right. This war on terror is a huge fraud. And we do need to get to the root of 9/11 in order to actually come to grips with exactly why we are there, what we are faced with, because people actually are believing that we were attacked by extremist Muslims, that they had the power to take over NORAD, have NORAD stand down, and they had the power to get in and place explosives in the buildings to bring the towers down, including not only World Trade Center 1 and 2, but we're talking about World Trade Center 7, which wasn't even hit by a plane. All three of which came down in nearly free fall speed with the use of explosives that scientists has found in the rubble and have determined that it's a super nanothermate. So there are, we do need to get to the root of 9/11 in order to understand why we are spending all this money on the wars, why all this waste is getting ripped off from the American people through privatization of the military, and why they're setting up a police state right here at home. It all has to do with a microchip society, a one world government. And the global elite are behind this. Now let's take a look at a few of the families that are at the top of this food chain. And the tool very much is fear. It absolutely is. And, we talked at the beginning about all these figures, thousands and hundreds of thousands of killed and injured and all. And when you run through a group of figures like that, it really is hard to put a face on the victimization, who the victims are. Putting a human face on the carnage and the consequences of war. And I actually do want to get back to this 12160.org's member Vincent Garisco's article, The Truth About Depleted Uranium Weaponry, because a lot of people don't understand what is behind this. And Vincent is a freelance writer from Bullhead City, Arizona. He's a contributing writer for many websites and a lifetime member of the Alliance of Atomic Veterans. Since the early 1980s, the all-too-aware world has sounded the alarm about depleted uranium, from a full-blown international outcry to the United Nations warning transmitted through the blood-stained pages of the Geneva and Nuremberg conventions, to the echoes of wood mallets feverishly slamming down in the World Court at Hague. The message is very clear. The radiation level in depleted uranium is not depleted. In fact, it won't be depleted to any safe degree for about 2 billion years. In retrospect, that's a long time to beg for forgiveness, not only for what we have done, but for what we continue to do on multiple battlefields. And not only that, to generations that aren't even born here on the earth yet are going to be paying the consequences of our acts of war. The fact is, only approximately 14% of Americans at best understand the full matrix surrounding depleted uranium. And Mr. Garisco went on to write in this article, listen up. Depleted uranium is a deadly weapon of mass destruction that has been banned by virtually every nation on the planet. Its illegal use by the United States breaks all existing international treaties, conventions, protocols, and articles of war. It was first introduced into our arsenal around 1983 under the leadership directives of then-President George H.W. Bush. And it was first used in the Gulf War in Iraq to the tune of 350 tons of exploded poison. The documented track record associated with DU is a hideous reality, a carcinogenic killer causing birth defects, lung disease, kidney disease, leukemia, breast cancer, lymphoma, bone cancer, and neurological disabilities. When DU munitions explode, it becomes an atomized dust devil that fills the air with a blanket of radiation